There are a few key elements that every self-respecting JRPG should include. A reluctant hero whose hometown was pillaged or outright destroyed. The protagonist will only have a single parent if they're lucky. Swords will be used no matter the time period or the setting. And there will be a love interest that never really goes anywhere besides giving vague hints about maybe holding hands once the whole damn world is saved. The cast is a group of misfits consisting of childhood friends and random strangers who will join you on your journey once you help them solve their only problem in life. It will be unthinkable to fight alongside all of your allies at once, because we're not animals, so battles are fought in groups of 3 or 4 at most. No matter what they had going in their life before they joined up, the inactive characters are happy to idly wait for the protagonist at the base, on an airship or worse yet, in the void somewhere. These JRPG tropes may be flawed, but you can call me a gem cutter because I still love experiencing them over and over again. This character-driven narrative is precisely why the combination of JRPGs and gacha games into a single unholy amalgamation works so well. Imagine a roster of dozens of characters with diverse backstories, unique abilities, and the power of friendship. Thus, Honkai Star Rail was born. 50% JRPG, 50% gacha, and 100% your wallet is empty and you need to sell your house, but damn, you need that new waifu more than your real-life wife needs you.
Are there any left?
So, here's my question. Is Honkai Star Rail a good JRPG? Yes, thank you for watching the video, like and subscribe. Hold on. It's also one of the largest gacha games and that may pose some issues. Let us start from the beginning. Honkai Star Rail is a classy game. Why else will it start with classical music and the British royalties version of air guitar, air violin? We're on a space station and things are spinning out of control fast with explosions and what looks like the Spider-Man meme attacking the station.
Seems I came at a bad time.
We get to play as the violinist with attitude Kafka.
After all, Elio didn't put it in the script. Why would it matter?
She apparently woke up today and chose violence. But by the rule of cool, I declare her innocent. There's a combat tutorial, but I'll get into that a bit later. For now, we banish the enemies into the Shadow Realm and move on. The first explorable area illustrates my first problem with the game. Upon inspecting the futuristic Tinder ad, we are fed some dialogue with our partner in crime. The dialogue is chock full of new terminology. Just listen for a second.
She's a member of the Genius Society and an emanator of Noose the Erudition.
Oh, what an alliance joke.
This is just a fraction of everything you should know about Star Rail's universe. Over time and exposure, you'll get accustomed to all those terms being thrown around, but it will never relent with its verbal pseudoscience diarrhea. Early on, I'd often lose tons of context from dialogue simply because I had not memorized the entire Encyclopedia Britannica, Space Waifu Edition. There's an in-game Wikipedia, but that doesn't help me during dialogue. Honkai Star Rail would have benefited immensely from the Final Fantasy XVI feature of lore checking from the pause menu, but alas, for now, we'll just be dumb.
Even if you explained it to me, I probably wouldn't understand all the crazy details.
Let's get back on track.
I could only attract this much. Did you really want the entire Legion to come here?
We learned that the Antimatter Legion attack on the space station was actually orchestrated by our lovely lady here and the voice in her head. Whilst Kafka is busy staring at the wall, she's almost 360 no-scoped by Mr. Agelord. Fortunately, the poor guy gets banished into the Shadow Realm faster than he can say that he studied the blade. This is Kafka's partner Silverwolf, who definitely escaped from some 90s hacker movie. When she's not busy hacking time and space, she's been hacking space stations, and so she shares her discovery of a Stellaron, space cancer, which is a rare item we are looking for. Hackerman joins the party and we continue on our merry way. We go through a few more tutorials, most importantly the item smashing one. Something about smashing priceless vases into pieces just tickles my brain in a really good way, and sometimes you even get money or skill energy out of them.
At this speed, too slow.
We dispose of a few more enemies and make our way into the monitoring room. Because it has lots of monitors, get it? There's no Stellaron in sight, but it turns out that Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse plan worked and the room is somehow digital.
It is time for us to adopt a new company brand to encompass everything that we do.
Seems like they couldn't figure out how to program doors because a human-sized hole appears in the wall.
What the hell?
Just an ordinary hologram.
We enter the strange room, Silver Wolf cosplays a hacker by pushing random buttons, and we get our hands on the Stellaron. Activating it presents an important choice. Wiener or no wiener. Once the gender reveal party is over, the Stellaron's avatar manifests itself in reality.
How much does she remember?
Kafka does some inappropriate touching which awakens something in us and our protagonist springs to life. We have some questions, but Kafka is a modern mom and has no time for us.
None of that matters. All you need to know is that I'm leaving, and you will be left all alone on this space station.
She tells us to join up with whoever wants us and leaves. Thus we have developed abandonment issues and have fulfilled the first criteria of being a JRPG protagonist. Things are heating up as we're almost kissed by Prince Charming here.
Stop it! They're awake! Wait!
Meet the power duo of Dan Hung, probably named after his huge weapon,
Whoa!
and March 7th, the girl who is literally named after a calendar date. And you can't even date her. Despite looking like a K-pop band, they're space mercenaries, invited here to fight against the invasion.
Are you alright? Can you hear me? Do you remember your name?
As for our protagonist, the JRPG curse has prescribed us with amnesia and we can't answer any questions. Our mission for now is to return to the space station control room. The station is still under attack and so we could use a weapon, and since this is the distant future, guns are kinda cringe. There's a baseball bat lying around. This is close enough to a sword, so our protagonist picks it up.
Rules are made to be broken.
Alongside the bow-wielding March 7th, we battle our way through enemies and a few more tutorials. Along the way we also discover light cones, Star Rail's version of weapons. In universe they are described as a collection of memories used to enhance the wearer's abilities. We equip ourselves with some PTSD and continue on our merry way. Soon we encounter a stronger enemy, one we had to fight, and we successfully fail the task, only to be saved by what appears to be a flying fidget spinner.
Losers! You can't just gang up on us!
Why does it always have to get this exciting?
The spinning enthusiast turns out to be Himeko, a friend of Dan Hung and March 7th. By the way, we also picked up Arlan somewhere along the way, but he's absolutely the least important character in the whole known universe, so it doesn't really matter.
Are you alright, Arlan?
I'm fine. Bye.
More importantly, Himeko is the navigator of the Astral Express, a magical space train teleporting through the universe. The crew includes Dan Hung, March 7th, Himeko, and a few other misfits. But this has nothing to do with us, so who cares, right? Himeko alongside her assets join us, and we move on. Something that I can definitely praise in Honkai Star Rail is the attention to detail. There are so many interactable objects and stories conveniently tucked away on a piece of paper somewhere. Reading those won't give you anything but a sense of pride and accomplishment.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
Fuck. Oh my.
Finally, we get to meet the one who called Astral Express for help. Asta, the lead researcher of Herta space station, fills us in on the situation. She's more worried about the researchers than the invaders. Asta also doesn't have much faith in her boss and the owner of the space station, Herta. What she has is the smuggest smile on the whole station though. Herta's space station used to be a warehouse, but eventually turned into a research station. This also explains why the rare artifact Stellaron was found here, tucked away in a wall somewhere. Despite her feelings about the boss, Asta apparently feels lucky to be here. Imagine if she had to be rich instead. Absolutely disgusting. Jokes aside, the storytelling here is great. We learn about the characters, the world, and our current situation all at once, without it ever feeling like a wall of exposition. Some concepts are dumbed down instead of throwing around meaningless terms, and the voice acting is extremely good. One of the best English performances I've heard in an anime-style game. Since we're given free rein for a bit, let's have a listen to some voice acting.
It is said that the space station also contains Madame Herta's private chamber, where her most precious, rare, and dangerous collections are sealed.
And I, Lukash, outstanding researcher of the Herta Department of Galactic Geopolitics, must emphasize in this time of crisis that their lives and rights should also be respected.
Hiding something extraordinary with something extraordinary. This is pretty Herta. I assume you know what to do. I mean, you've read the catalog for quite a while.
I've got all the clues we need. The only piece missing is a simple trick.
You see that, Sheila? History always repeats itself.
History? Gun, this is the first time I have witnessed the space station in such disarray.
Oh, Sheila.
Absolute stellar performances by both the main cast members and random NPCs, some of whom are not even named. I could only dream that my own video voiceover was half as good as the random dense vagrant.
You idiots.
While not everything is voice acted in-game, a staggering amount of dialogue is voiced, and the quality is always superb. We've come a long way from anime dub so horrible that they turned into parodies.
His laugh. His funny little requests.
Touch me.
His reprimands.
Touch me harder.
We are rudely interrupted by the space dragon invasion. This bad boy here is the Doomsday Beast, and as you can probably guess, it will be the first real boss of the game. Meanwhile, Himeko wants to escape with the Astral Express and take our protagonist with her. We move to the docks to board the express, but to no one's surprise, it's gone. Instead, we get to pass heads with the space dragon. Tan Heng pokes it with a spear, Mart-7 shoots arrows at it, and Himeko fires space lasers at the beast. With those equally powerful moves and a little bit of power friendship, the dragon is driven to use its own space laser, and hits our protagonist. Getting bonked by space lasers triggers some head trauma, because we see visions of a literal god of destruction, Nanook. We start getting flashbacks, but with a quick bonk to the head and quick but unnecessary adjustment of glasses, we get the plot back on track.
Hi.
We wake up to Dan Hang again, who surprisingly doesn't try to kiss us this time. We also have a phone now, so we can start browsing memes. Despite standing right next to us, Dan Hang the zoomer messages us and tells us to find Himeko. Upon finding her, we also find the mastermind of the station, Herta.
Welcome back, Herta. This is the true master of the space station. Genius Society number 83, Herta.
At least give me a proper introduction.
She reveals that she built this wall station just to hold the Stellaron. That's us. The Stellaron itself is referred to as cancer of all worlds due to its nature of spreading like cancer. It's a mysterious object causing great disasters around it. I guess I've been called worse things.
Can I bring her in for some research?
Herta offers to let us stay in the research station to perform experiments on us.
You also have another option. The Astral Express. If you want, you can leave with us.
Himeko offers an alternative. Join up with the Astral Express gang and travel the universe in search of answers. Note that you actually don't have a choice here. Herta does offered us the lucrative mechanic of simulated worlds, which I'll talk about later, but for now we can only decide to team up with the Astral Express crew. That's what Mommy Kafka wanted to after all. After exploring the space station a bit more, we return to the docks, this time with the promised Astral Express docked there. It's an interesting sight. An old steampunk train docked aboard a sci-fi space station. Himeko is already waiting for our final answer to whether we'll join her on the Milky Way journey. And that answer is a resolute yes.
Then come with me.
Let's go.
I'll be waiting
Time to get on.
till we make it. Oh, we will see.
I'm over here.
Come with me, take the journey.
Hey, you over there looking dumbfounded. Yes, Pom-Pom's talking to you.
The Astral Express also has a mascot, Pom Pom. Weirdly enough, March 7th has a plushie of it, but it's naked for some reason. It's only like the second most embarrassing thing in her room. Don't tell anybody about the husband of all. This marks the end of the first chapter of Star Rail's story. Next up is the ice planet of Charilo 6 and the city of Belobog, which sounds like the home planet of Jabba the Hutt, but is actually ruled by a queen of ice and has mole people living underground. Once we overthrow the government on the ice planet, the focus is shifted into a fleet of oriental spacecraft, where immortal humans, fox people and tiny dragons live in apparent harmony. Covering those in addition to the first act will make this already meandering video way too long. But I can assure you that so far the main story and explorable worlds of Star Rail have been nothing short of stellar. Combat in JRPGs is often repetitive.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
And offers more menu-focused gameplay of equipping, upgrading and optimizing than actual action of whacking the enemies. The first part also rings true for Honkai Star Rail. There's tons of menuing involved and you need to learn fancy words like light cones, traces, relics and eidolons.
I can probably get through everything in 2 days, as long as I don't sleep.
Despite all that, the core gameplay actually manages to keep itself fresh and fun to play. Let's take a look at how and why it succeeds where many others have failed. To initiate combat, you usually need to find an enemy on the map and hit them. The enemies can and will follow you, and if they manage to hit you first, they'll ambush you, giving them the advantage of the first move. Even so, evading enemies completely is usually possible, and it's great to be able to choose how to proceed. Either go guns blazing or tactically outmaneuver the enemies. If multiple enemies are close enough, they become soulmates and will fight you in a single continuous battle in multiple waves, like in old martial arts movies. Attacking all at once would be rude after all. Honor aside, it's a great way to implement both choice and a tiny bit of skill into the very essence of combat. Your party consists of up to 4 characters and every character has an elemental attribute such as ice, fire, physical, quantum or even imaginary damage, if you can imagine that.
Can you imagine?
Every enemy has a number of weaknesses to those damage types, and by breaking through their weaknesses bars with corresponding elements, that enemy is stunned for a round, and they get some extra damage. It's a good idea to keep your team versatile to be able to easily break any enemy you might encounter. Another great idea to promote trying different teams and characters. Every character has a number of different abilities. Techniques are used before the battle in the overworld, and they either grant bonuses like increased damage or just outright damage enemies. Few have overworld use like healing, blinding the enemies or granting increased movement speed. Now a huge problem. The character with the movement speed buff is wearing stilettos, and this is where I draw the line with realism. In combat, everybody gets a normal attack with their weapon of choice, be it bats, swords, bows, fists, guns, or mahjong tiles. Character skill can be used if the team has enough skill points, which are shared and normally restored by normal attacks. This creates an interesting dynamic of managing the whole team's battle flow between alternating skills and attacks. Examples include shields, healing, buffs, or most commonly damaging either a single enemy or all of them. Finally, every character has an ultimate ability. Which can be activated once the character has gathered enough energy, either by damaging enemies or just by receiving damage. Once the character has filled their energy, the ultimate can be activated at any time, ignoring the normal turn order. This can lead to some impactful moments, such as healing your teammates just before an enemy's attack could kill them, or stunning the enemy just before they can unleash a nasty move. Overall, this system is great as it offers flexibility and requires strategy without being overly complex. Most of all, it's fun to play. All of this is in no small part due to the absolute banger animations Star Rail characters have. Almost every ability has a weighty anime finisher-like feel to it.
Perhaps you still don't understand.
Even just threading your ultimate is a deliberate step in the process. You have to do it even if the ability is multi-target or if it can only target yourself. You need to go through the process of gathering up the energy, focusing onto the character, everything goes still for a moment, and then you release it. Big damage or no damage, doesn't even matter, it always looks cool as hell, except for when you summon this stupid bird. Star Rail makes excellent use of the camera. There's a dramatic zoom in when you start the combat, the focus moves to the characters when it's their ultimate, and even smaller touches such as focusing on enemy skills all add to the satisfying feel of combat. One of the drawbacks of JRPG turn-based combat has always been the slowness of it. The Final Fantasy series has multiple abilities which take over a minute just to play the animation. Sure, summoning planets is fun and all, but the year is 2023. We all got subreddits to read, TikToks to watch and tweets, X's to X. Anyway, there's no time to explain. Star Rail has a built-in 2x combat speed cheat and it is beautiful. I played with it on for so long that I have become the Rock Lee of JRPG combat.
How's it feel?
Bad!
If I disable the speed multiplayer now, the combat becomes so slow that I feel like I can see into the future. It's yet another great addition to the already excellent combat system. But wait, there's more. Auto combat.
Holy moly.
Do you even have the time to play the game at all? Of course you don't, you're probably playing 6 other gacha games. Personally, I think it's great. Not every battle has or requires high stakes. Sometimes it's just great to be able to kick back and reap the rewards. It's not perfect by any means. The auto battle AI can't help but make stupid decisions, prolonging the battle needlessly or getting your characters killed. Boss fights don't even let you use the auto combat. But if I need to complete yet another daily minor annoyance to get upgrades for my characters, then yeah, you guys figure it out, I got stuff to do. Genshin Impact, the previous game by MiHoYo, has an open world so vertical that it sometimes loops around and becomes horizontal again. This philosophy does not carry over to Star Rail's universe. For starters, there's no open world. Instead, we get reasonably sized interconnected areas which are separated by loading screens. Despite characters hopping around in all sorts of flashy ways during ability animations, there's no jumping in Honkai Star Rail either. Even so, the explorable areas are surprisingly vertical in nature with stairs, elevators and magical transport beams used to traverse tightly connected areas of a zone. It's not as impressive as Genshin Impact's climbing gym, but it doesn't have to be. The focus here is much more on the minute details. Everywhere you go, there are small details that tell the story of the world. For an example, during chapter 3 of the story, you and the crew visit Xiangshou Lufo, a gigantic spaceship that blends futuristic and traditional elements together into one comfy-looking city.
Long time no see, Astral Express crew. It's Kafka.
During this segment of the story, we are hot on the heels of Tommy Mummy Kafka and Edgelord Blade, and during explorations there are actual wanted posters of both of them wherever you go. I absolutely love this kind of environmental storytelling. It's much more impactful than just a few important characters telling you that these are the bad guys.
What are we talking about today?
Zooming out, the environments are gorgeous, especially the Xiangshou Lofo where the latest story arcs takes place. There are ancient trees, endless particle effects, warm lighting, spacecraft flying around, and the background of the area looks like one of those comfy YouTube synthwave mixes with immaculate vibes. I half expected Ryan Gosling to pop out here with his beautiful, sad eyes.
What a day.
You look lonely.
Unfortunately, as beautiful as the world is, it is somewhat tarnished by the horrible user interface. Honkai Star Rail is a mobile game first and foremost, and they didn't make a great effort to streamline the UI for the PC user. Your screen is littered with tons of useless buttons and texts that can be accessed by far better ways than holding the Alt key, hovering over to them and clicking them. It's a pity, since it conceals some of the breathtaking world MiHoYo has crafted. If they can remove the UI during combat animations, why not do it during the exploration as well? You can manually remove most of the UI with the photo mode, which is the most useful feature in any modern game that needs to justify spending endless fortunes on graphical innovations, like adding another blade of grass.
Wow!
Not to mention the gacha game way of adding red notifications to every conceivable icon, because apparently I'm not notified enough. My immersion is ruined and my eyes are considering a divorce. The world of Star Rail is living, with tons of NPCs around to talk to you, sell you items, or to bother you with side quests. I say bother, and while it rings true to quite a few fetch quests, some of the side quests are absolutely fantastic. In Xiangshou Luofo, there's a blind girl who gets bullied due to her disability.
Aw, little Miss Lady can't see ahead, can't see right, can't see left, heads to the east, ends up west.
She's stuck! She can't get down!
It's wonderfully voice acted and it made me want to pummel the bullies with the baseball bat myself.
Are made to be broken.
Thank you for helping me, miss.
On its own, it's a simple story, but what follows is yet another bit of great storytelling. You see, the people on Chansolo 4 are long-lived, meaning that their lifespans range from hundreds of years to, well, theoretically infinity. A long life does not equal perfection though, and people with disabilities like the blind kid are ostracized. Even worse, they can't be cured. It's science fiction. There are implants and other cures for simple things like blindness, but the bodies of the long-lived people actively reject modifications. Tanshu here is also blind. She once longed to see the love of her life with her own eyes and went through with the procedure to gain vision. Initially, it worked. She was able to see the love of her life for a brief time, but shortly after her body started rejecting the implant, which made her go through immeasurable pain and ultimately loss of vision once again. She still suffers from that choice to this day, quietly, in her own dark world. On an even grander scale, the universe has gods, or aeons as they are called, primordial beings who construct reality and wield immense power. Some of them are long dead, others missing, and some are very much present and dangerous. We already met Nanook, the Aeon of Destruction who commands the army of those purple boys from the beginning, and seemingly wants to destroy the universe. Humans and other races form factions around those powerful beings and their ideals, which in turn creates strife due to the clashing philosophies. As an example, the people of Xianshou of Wo are immortal thanks to the Aeon of Abundance, who almost on a whim gave them a curse in disguise. Turns out that immortal life is not possible within the frail body of a human, and over time those people will turn into vicious monsters. Thus, even though their eternal life was given to them by the Aeon of Abundance, they joined up with the opposing force, the Aeon of Hunt, and seek to destroy the Aeon of Abundance together for good. Whilst there may be no sound in space, I need to point out that the soundtrack is absolutely banging. Area music often has a mystic touch to it to drive in the point of exploration. For our protagonist and for ourselves, this universe is very much unexplored and full of surprises after all. Even better, the music becomes the centerpiece in some places, especially in a certain boss fight where it got my blood so pumped up that I almost unleashed my own ultimate skill.
In the name of Landau, years of cold hardens the will. We shall never fall!
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
I believe that the classic JRPG formula can be broken down into two core components. The grand overarching storyline starts small, but takes you through the game world to the ultimate goal of defeating the big bad guy and saving the world. Meanwhile, on a much more personal level, you have your own adventuring party, with each member bringing on their own set of unique baggage.
Shit! What the hell, Red?
Kind of like having a real group of friends, but I wouldn't know anything about that. The charm of this setup lies in the opportunity to get to know and grow alongside your party. No, alongside your friends as the overarching plotline progresses. At the beginning of Final Fantasy IX, I hated the short, clumsy mage Vivi. The bastard couldn't even walk properly. By the end of the game, once I fully realized who he really was and the struggles little brother faced, I would have gladly taken a magic bullet for him. The juxtaposition of the grand plot and the small struggles is exactly why JRPGs are so enticing to the fans of the genre. But what if your adventuring party is more like the size of a Mexican family gathering? Name a more iconic duo than gacha games and endless, needlessly complicated game systems, which are just barely rewarding enough to warrant suffering through them. Honkai Star Rail poses itself as a competent JRPG, But underneath the cracks, the gacha dragon still roars its greedy head. Some of the systems, like daily missions, are well done, but are still doomed to fail by design. The catch is that new story bits and new locations are released slowly over time. There's a desert of content between patches, and the primary thing to do during that time is to grind. While the concept of grinding should be familiar to any JRPG fans, it typically doesn't take more than a few hours or so in most cases. In a gacha game, you won't have to grind much on a day-to-day basis, but man does it add up over the days, weeks and years. Imagine taking a classic JRPG story and releasing it slowly over 6 or 7 years. Oh, wait. The point is that it's hard to keep being invested in such an episodic storytelling, and the only real way to do it is by dangling the fear of missing out carrot in front of the players the whole time, by continuously releasing new shiny characters and some fun events. It's similar to how Attack on Titan ended. By final season, part 3, part 2, Electric Boogaloo, I was mentally so checked out of the franchise that I stopped caring. Bi-weekly events spice things up, but even those are sometimes just do the same thing but get twice the rewards. The balance of things to do and the grind between is a tightrope that all online games must walk. I'll give Star Rail a passing grade in this regard. Not great, not terrible. Speaking of events, Star Rail follows the formula of its predecessor, Genshin Impact. There's a new major version of the game every 6 weeks. That version is the big deal. New story elements or even new locations are added. New character and light-going banners begin, and the major event usually starts around that time. Think of it as the weekend. 2 completely fun-filled days solely for your enjoyment. Then there are a few minor patches during that time, introducing smaller events and new character banners. These are your regular work days. You get to goof around a little bit in the evening, but other than that, it's a grind. This 6-week cycle is the lifeblood of Honkai Star Rail. You're either enjoying something shiny you just got, or spend your days in misery waiting for that magical version update to roll around once again. The gacha system itself is fine enough. As a free-to-play player, you usually get enough scraps to pull a 5-star character every now and then. Now, if you're one of those people who like to min-max their games, I have some bad news for you. Just like Genshin Impact, to max out a character's potential, you need to pull that specific character 6 times, which incidentally costs around $1,000. Before you sue MiHoYo for emotional damage, there are a few saving graces here. First of all, you don't really need to max out any character's Eidolon resonance, which is what the multiple copies give you. The combat is not that hard. You might need to do some extra grinding to get better gear, but all that content is easily doable on a $0 budget. If you really like a specific character, you can also upgrade him or her throughout the years as a free-to-play player. You might not have the budget for getting the second copy of the character this time, but that character will be available again a few months later. You don't even need 5-star characters. The 4 stars are perfectly fine as well, and you get quite a few of them for free. There's also a separate banner for light cones aimed at the character they are paired with, but this is something that free-to-play players should only turn to if they really like a character. Again, despite what the marketing tells you, you don't actually need that much power. With great power comes great financial responsibility. Sometimes you need to use a specific character for some story beats and battles, but usually you're free to choose whoever you want to use in your party. Usually this is fine, although logically you will have to make amends. Some characters never officially join you on your journey, so you need to make up your own fanfiction on why your specific group of characters is running together.
Huh? And what's that supposed to mean?
Sometimes the party lineup makes zero sense. During one point in the story, Kafka here was wanted by authorities, and our own party was also looking for her. Well, they actually didn't have to look very far, because during that time I was running around as Kafka. This is my main grievance with the gacha game as a JRPG. In traditional JRPGs, you run a tight ship with a small curated group of characters, typically around 8 or so. 8 characters is enough to give you plenty of choice for whom to use, but also have time to get to know everybody. Despite launching just this year, Honkai Star Rail already has 35 playable characters, and the 3-year-old Genshin Impact boasts a staggering 75 playable characters. To be clear, having an abundance of choice is fantastic. Would you like to use the Fire or Ice or Electrosword character? Yet each new edition reduces the time to spend with the existing characters. Genshin Impact is a good example because story-wise, some of the characters got banished into the Shadow Realm for years. Even if technically they are your own party's main character. It just drops the opportunity to really bond with your party, to thoroughly get to know the characters and to look back and say, remember when me and Timmy blew up Mondstadt? Good times. The other chaotic aspect of gacha is its inherent randomness. Now, randomness itself is a great mechanic if properly utilized. Just take a look at how Baldur's Gate 3 keeps even mechanics like lockpicking fresh with dice rolls. You do get the opportunity to affect the dice rolls with passives, abilities and consumables. But ultimately, success boils down to chance. You could argue that the same principle applies to acquiring characters in gacha games. You pick and choose the characters to pull for, and should you have enough free-to-play savings or a deep enough wallet, it's a guaranteed win. However, what if the character you want is not currently featured in a banner? What if the character hasn't made an appearance in a year? Or maybe it was a limited character in the first place and now you can't ever use them. I'm not saying that pulling for characters isn't fun. Gambling is one of the most lucrative industries for a reason.
The game was rigged from the start.
We as humans are quite literally addicted to the promises of riches and waifus. My point is that this approach goes against what makes a JRPG exceptional. Imagine playing Final Fantasy VII, but your party consists of the ever-silent Cloud and some faceless mercenaries who were only made playable to inflate the character pool. It might make for an interesting alternate storyline, but we all know which character we would instantly miss. The bromance with Barret, obviously. There's even more randomness in Honkai Star Rail. Let's talk about equipment. Every character can equip a light cone and 6 relics. Those relics in turn have set bonuses and stats, so you can build your characters the way you want them to be. That being said, most characters have a single best in slot set, so usually only have an illusion of choice, both in terms of relic sets you want to get for the character and the stats you want on them. The stats are also part of the gacha system. They're randomized. A pair of boots could have health, attack, defense or speed as their main stat. And believe me, it won't be speed, the stat you want 99% of the time. So we can once again turn to gambling. This is done via stamina and you get a reasonable amount daily. Therefore, if you want to outfit your dream team, you'll need to grind fights that grant relics over and over again, until you get one of your characters outfitted. Then repeat that process 3 more times for the rest of the team. There are few ways to skip some of the grind, like crafting specific hard to find relics, but the materials required are given out very rarely. Grinding is not really optional. I don't mind this process much, pseudo gambling is fun enough, but it certainly is a bit predatory with the time required, both in terms of in-game hours and the weeks it takes to get the relics with optimal stats for a single character. This is where the auto battle saves the day, quite literally. Honkai Star Rail has a few more interesting systems. There are at least 2 separate dungeon-style battle mechanics where you battle enemies of increasing difficulty. One of them, the simulated universe, works like a roguelike. You start the dungeon with a party of 4 and need to progress through about 10 to 20 fights with boss fights sprinkled in there. You obtain buffs and even debuffs and need to manage your party's health because down characters can only be resurrected in safe zones. Upon completion, you get some experience, equipment and currency in some cases. Out of the run, you get to permanently upgrade your stats for the next run. Overall, I really like this edition and would probably play it even as a standalone. A great system which somewhat alleviates the lack of control over the characters you get to use is the loaning mechanic. In many cases you can use other players' characters as the 4th member of your team. This is a great way to test out characters you don't own, haven't leveled or just like the look of. If other players use your character, you get a tiny reward. Even though this system is obviously implemented for gacha marketing reasons, I really like it. My only complaint is that it would be nice to have the joining character say something like "I'll help you out this one time" or "It's not like I'm doing this for you, stupid," just to add some storytelling to the otherwise great mechanic. While Honkai Star Rail might not be the JRPG juggernaut it could have been, it undeniably stands as a great game. For better or worse, the gacha elements beneath it are well done too. I don't have too many complaints and I can get by fine with being a free-to-play player. Would it be a better JRPG without those elements? Absolutely. You either pay with your money or with your time, and gacha games are expensive no matter which payment method you choose.
It's been 84 years.
But if it wasn't a gacha game, would Star Rail ever have been made? The gambling might just be a necessary evil we need to accept and embrace. So let's end this on a positive note. Honkai Star Rail has a huge world with tens of hours of superb content to explore right now. The characters are fun, the locations and their soundtrack radiate immense vibes, and the story is fascinating on both the smaller scale and in terms of cosmic existential horror. There will probably be hundreds of hours of maybe even better stories to tell and locations to explore in the future. There definitely will be a lot of hot single new characters coming to gachas near you. If this sounds enticing to you, why not give it a go? It's free to play after all. Or if you're an existing player and either agree or disagree with me, feel free to leave some comments so we can discuss this in a calm and timely manner.
What's up, guys? Most haunted place in the Luofu. Follow and share. Or else I'm gonna... I think I just...